This is Aaron Bushberger, Finance Director for South St. Paul Public Schools, providing a 2020-21 budget update. Just to take a high-level overview of the 2021 budget. So as a reminder, the budget was developed assuming a quote-unquote regular school year where we would have all students in the building, all of our quote-unquote regular staff in the building supporting the students and activities that are occurring. However, we know it is a different year now with the hybrid model as well as the distance learning opportunities for our families. So I would like to go over a couple of factors, including enrollment, funding, as well as expenditures and staffing. And again, these are similar factors we typically talk about in a normal budget conversation. So as a reminder about our 2020-21 budget, you can see there the projected beginning fund balance is approximately $4.8 million. The operating budget is projecting a change in the fund balance of $990,165 deficit, leaving us with a projected ending fund balance of approximately $3.8 million. And again, this projected deficit was part of the budget plan that we developed this past spring. Moving on to enrollment. So you can see there's three columns here: the 2018-19 actual enrollment, 2019-20 budgeted enrollment in the middle, and then on the far right-hand side, the 2020-21 projected enrollment. So on the lower right-hand corner, you can see our projected enrollment is 3,147. Again, this is in terms of ADM, or average daily membership. And as you can see, this is a decrease based on the past couple years that are listed here as well. Just a couple of notes: the ECSE, again, is Early Childhood Special Education, and the VPK is our voluntary pre-kindergarten program. So looking at our current enrollment, so from a kindergarten through 12th grade perspective, current numbers show enrollment levels that are close to what has been budgeted. I'm going to leave that general for the time being because, as we know in previous years, October 1st is really our first solid enrollment data point. And I will say that this has been obviously a different year that has created different challenges as far as verifying our enrollment numbers and the number of students that we're serving. So we have worked hard over the course of the past couple of weeks to verify all of that information, but just know as we head into early October, we'll have a more specific number that we can share with you. Voluntary pre-kindergarten enrollment, currently that enrollment is down about 80 students from what we budgeted and the prior year enrollment. Again, this is a much different year than what we've had in the past, and so we have seen some changes there. That enrollment is a fluid number, and I know our early learning department is continuing to accept additional enrollments. We're seeing some more enrollments come through as we get closer to the start of that hybrid learning model. Moving on to funding. So from a state funding perspective, all 2020-21 funding has been kept whole. What we do know is some of the changes that we are seeing this year will have an impact on our future funding, specifically in the next fiscal year for 2021-22. So a couple of pieces there. Special education funding is always 1 year behind, so we incur costs this year and receive funding for it in the next year. And then compensatory funding is based on our family's free and reduced status. And so the free and reduced counts for this October determine our compensatory funding for 2021-22. So we're keeping a close eye on both of those areas and know that that will have an impact as we head into future budget years. And then finally, and you'll continue to hear me say this, that we obviously have concerns about the future state budget. As of right now, they are estimating a $4.7 billion deficit for the next biennium. Again, the state provides us with about 80% of our funds, so we are very reliant on the state. and we'll be keeping a close eye on that as well. From a federal funding perspective, so South St. Paul, along with other Minnesota school districts and charter schools, have been allocated funds under the CARES Act. And so there's three different components here that I'll review. The first is the CRF in the first column, or Coronavirus Relief Funds. You can see South St. Paul Schools has been allocated just over $1 million. There is a deadline to spend those funds by the end of December 2020. So we are currently working on the best way to allocate and spend those dollars. Know that allowable uses and things we are looking into is providing support for buildings, providing additional technology resources, providing PPE and other supplies and equipment, as well as looking at ventilation system improvement potential areas that we can invest dollars in as well. And so there'll be more information to come there, but that is a work in process, and we are working hard to determine the best way to utilize those dollars. One of the challenges is we have to spend those dollars by December. So it's very challenging to allocate resources to something for the entire school year when we only have funding for half of the year. You can see then we cannot supplant with those dollars, meaning we cannot use these dollars to pay for something that we already have in our budget. So we're not allowed to do that. And then also there is not an allocation for our non-public schools, which is Holy Trinity. The next two areas are ESSER and GEAR funds. And you can see those allocations there total about $530,000. We have longer time to spend these funds. We don't have to spend them until September of 2022. And so really the priority and immediate need is spending the CRF dollars that I just talked about while trying to hang on to these ESSER and GEAR dollars that will help, hopefully help us into future years as well. You can see with these dollars we can supplant, meaning that we can use these dollars to pay for something that we're already doing, a staff member that we already have in place. And there is a non-public allocation for these funds, meaning that Holy Trinity does receive a portion of these dollars to help support their programming as well. This non-public allocation is similar to other federal grants, including Title I. So this is a common process for both the district as well as Holy Trinity. Moving on to expenditures and staffing, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the budget was developed assuming a quote-unquote regular school year from a financial perspective. We do know that we have not filled certain positions because we are in hybrid and distance learning models. So you've heard Dr. Webb say, generally speaking, we have about 1/3 of our students distance learning, 1/3 of our students are in group 1, and 1/3 of our students are in group 2. So at any time during the day for the hybrid students, really we only have about 1/3 of our students in the building at any one time. Second, we are required to offer care for our Tier 1 families. So we offer this from 7 to 4. So there's a before and after school care component, as well as providing care for the students on their off days if they are hybrid students. Third, we also know other costs have changed due to the different learning models because we're in more of a distance learning type model. We know we have different costs associated with technology and the needs there, and a little less in kind of the normal operations of school and the supplies needed there. And then finally, the CARES Act funding comes into play in determining what expenses can qualify under those grants and funds and what we can utilize those dollars for. So next steps, so more specific budget information to come in October and or November. Again, it'll be based on these factors that I just mentioned, including enrollment, funding, and expenditures and staffing. Know that we're all aware that there's many changes happening, and a lot of those changes have a financial impact on the budget. And so we are working to manage those the best we can, and are planning to come back with more specific details for you in the coming months. Again, this information will be presented at the COW meeting. I can answer any questions you have in the meantime, or can answer any questions at the COW meeting. Thank you.